This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports. We're here at Anderson Boxing and delighted to be joined with probably one of Ireland's newest pros into the scene, Conor Kerr. Conor, I guess first of all welcome to professional ranks. I guess like anything, a lot of people, they're purists just for professional boxing, probably don't start their amateur boxing so much. How long have you been boxing for?
I've been boxing now I started training when I was 15, so I was quite late starting. I used to race scramblers before that, so I was quite late starting into it. And then I had my first fight when I was 16, and it was Antrim novice, but it wasn't at youth level. I never had a youth, never boxed youth.
You're sort of trying to play catch up then. Obviously people with a lot more experience, and I guess getting thrown in the deep end sometimes probably a good thing for that. Starting obviously later, probably in the boxing at 15, 16, I'm guessing probably boxing's sort of maturity and everything else. Obviously we always look at boxing and the really good aspects of it. As a teenager, obviously particularly at 15, did it probably calm you down and stuff like that? Because I guess as a teenager you can get sort of sidetracked the wrong way, drinking drugs as anybody can do, but did you find that sort of boxing give you a new sort of lease in life at 15 years of age?
Yeah, well, it's good as in like focus wise, it gives you something to focus on, and then keeps you obviously away from that path if you're going down a path of fitness and boxing. You know, gives you something to focus on rather than just running about and drinking at the weekend, I suppose, I'm sure everybody has done in their day, but yeah.
It's one of them things, I guess, isn't it? You know, like I remember obviously quite a long time ago, but obviously parents always wanted to get into some sort of self-defense in some way. Like for me it was karate, and I didn't like it because it was boring. But then boxing's the total opposite, where it's from non-contact to contact, and the first time you get punched in the nose, you're like, is this for me? You know?
It's not great now, is it?
It's not, you know, but I guess it shows that, you know, boxing's a sport, you're trying to hit without getting hit, so it's that sort of, that art sort of there. So you've been, we're right in saying, an amateur for about 8 years. You were an amateur for about 8 years, is that correct?
Yeah, well, it would be. I started when I was 27 now, so I started. First fight was 16 or 17. Started when I was 16. First fight 17, I think it was. So 10 years, 11 years.
So it's obviously a long time as well. You know, I guess particularly with boxing, it's not like football or something like that when you're playing and you're getting paid or things like that. It's a sport that you sort of look to probably for the bigger goals. Obviously, I guess everybody wants to be a world champion, go to the Olympic Games and everything else. How have you obviously found your time sort of as a boxer? Have you found that, you know, you're probably twice the sort of person you were previously? Have you found that you sort of really grew up well in the sport? You know, being there for a long time, you've obviously quite a lot of experience as well, and I'm guessing you've probably boxed all around the world.
Yes, well, the experience wise, like you get to meet a lot of new people as well, which is good from both sides of the community. Like when I went to America on a trip, which is the Burgess Beyond Boxing trip, which is a good community-based trip away, which we went to Detroit and Cincinnati. Had 2 fights out there, which I won both. That was at heavier weight when I boxed at lightweight, until I stopped eating so much.
And obviously been having that experience, I guess, as well, it sort of bodes you well, because particularly with professional boxing nowadays, you can box all over the world. You know, we're obviously seeing Jason Kirtley's obviously fighting in Madison Square Garden next week. Fighters fought in Mexico, you know, Dubai, everywhere. So I guess that sort of experience you've sort of had in boxing in other countries, getting used to different foods and different climates and everything else, bodes you sort of well coming into the pro game.
Yeah, and there was on a trip with the Antrim team to Greece before as well, and Belgium, and then I boxed in the British under 22 as well in England, which I got silver in that. Got beaten in the final in 3-2 split. Well, I got the 3-2 split decision against me, but
whenever you hear a 3-2, I guess you always just think straight away is of, you know, cricket where you robbed, you know, as I say, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, it comes with amateur boxing, even pro boxing. When you hear it's a 3-2, you're going, it's that tight, and obviously the first thing you always hear of, I should have won. Yeah. You know, they try to make it seem as less of a robbery. They're trying to make it 3-2 rather than a 4-1 or a 5-0. They're just going, you get beat, it was close. You know, we just something
I look
else.
at it all as experience. It's annoying at the time, obviously, when that kind of thing happens, but all stands you well going forward. Like, that's the way I looked at it. Instead of letting it get to you, just use it as fuel, I suppose. Put more fuel in the fire.
I remember Kurt Walker, obviously in the Olympics, obviously fought Duke Reagan, and he obviously lost in a 3-2
Yeah.
split. But you know, even when I look back on that, and I know I've spoken to Kurt a few times as well. You know, I think he lost the first round 5-0, and then he obviously won the second one 4-1. I think was it, but his second round that he won was more of a 5-0 in the first round, but they only gave us a 4-1 or a 3-2 or something like that, and he ended up losing out by the
Yeah.
1 point, so it was a 3-2 split.
Yeah, I watched that. Good.
But I guess that's something that's experienced, isn't it, as well in boxing. Obviously, it's hard at the time. You know, I guess being on the wrong side of a decision, it's hard to come through. But once you get past that, you go, I'm not the first, and I'll probably not be the last that gets robbed in a split decision.
That's it. Well, new leaf now. Clean sheet going forward.
Where did you box in amateur? Did you box in Monkstown?
I boxed for Monkstown for about 5 years at the end of my career, but at the start I was in Glengormley and then went to Ballyclare.
So Monkstown, then you would have had Aidan Walsh.
Aidan and Michaela were there, but yeah, we were always training, and Darryl Clark as well.
Darryl
He
Clark
won
as
the
well.
he won the Ulster Elites there too.
Obviously, it's a great experience to be around. Obviously, you know, I guess everybody keeps asking them questions. Is Aidan and Michaela going to turn pro? You know, the experience the two of them have. Like, if you wanted to start writing down the accolades they have, you probably just set a couple of hours aside. They've won so much as amateurs.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's good to be. We were always all training, and like especially coming up to the competitions, so we all train together. So definitely stands you well as well, being around that pedigree of people, and the work ethic too, because then you compete against each other, don't you? But like you don't do it on purpose, but subconsciously you do it just working harder than the person beside you. So
Like an extra rep or
Aye,
obviously
yeah.
an extra flurry
so
on the
it
bag.
pushes you on, doesn't it, when you have people there?
I guess it's a success by association as well. Obviously, when you've been around people like Michaela and Aidan, you know, you're sort of going, you're going to win. You know, you're obviously going to do it because when you've been around that vibe, it's hard not to be anything other than successful.
Yeah, that's it. They're definitely two people up there that you want to look at, like as in accomplishments, and as people as well. Like they're well grounded and have their heads well screwed on too. So
They do, and they're still
plenty of
going.
rounds with Michaela too. She'll tell you about that.
Did they go well?
Yeah, did yeah.
I guess obviously one of the fighters I know you've obviously fought as an amateur, who's now a pro, is Conor Quinn.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think you fought him maybe just before COVID or something like that. Well, obviously he turned pro before COVID.
I think it might have been 2017 maybe. It was the Ulster Senior Final. He had actually just came up for a weight. I think was it 52. He would have been at maybe.
Probably was very light.
Because I think he won the Irish before that at 52, and then he came up to 57, and I came down from 60 to 57 for the first time, and then we were in the final.
Do you sort of look to Conor obviously now as sort of like an inspiration, sort of the fact that I know Conor started off in Australia, got to 2-0 with 2 stoppages, then had obviously medical issues and come home, and I think now he's had 5 fights within the last year as well. Do you sort of look at that as not obviously as a target, sort of I want you, because you're probably in different weight classes now as well, but do you look at that and go, I want to sort of follow on that same vibe, it's sort of being active, people talking about you, and obviously building towards titles and success?
Yeah, he's definitely doing well. You know, I think his last fight was meant to be for a title fight as well, wasn't it? Which then it fell through last minute, so that would have been good for him to get, but he still got 8 good rounds in a watch. It was a good fight for him, so it'll stand him well going forward, and I'm sure he's not far away from getting another title shot, so it's obviously what I would like to do, go down the same path he's going down. You know, he's doing very well for himself, so.
And obviously another high profile one, obviously you fought Jude Gallagher, obviously in a qualifier I think for the Commonwealth Games, and you narrowly lost out. I'm obviously going to get you to ask obviously your thoughts on that, but obviously Jude Gallagher then went on and won obviously the Commonwealth Games, and everybody was speaking about him as well. Is that sort of, with his success, do you sort of, and I know that obviously that you believe obviously he'd won the fight and everything else, do you sort of look at that and go, that should have been me, I should be Commonwealth champion, you know, I should be obviously looking now at the Olympic Games and everything else, or do you sort of just put that in as another experience?
Well, it was a good, like if you're at that level, it's always going to be, good like matchups. You're not going to win by a landslide, are you? So they're always going to be like close fights. I think they'll think of one. Yeah, but I mean, he's going to say that as well. But listen, he done well for himself, and he got the gold medal, and he's doing well, and I like him as a person. So I wouldn't. I mean, it's not his fault either. So I'm happy for him too. I'm not like I wouldn't be like that. You know what I mean?
It's not like it's something in a different country where you feel more aggrieved when it's obviously someone within your own nation as well. You're going, wish them the best. Obviously, hope they go on and win everything else, because you can always then go. Remember, I thought
you can match it up to like. It was 3-2 split. He's went and done very well and won gold, and he's potentially going to go to the Olympics. So if you can match your skills to his through that, when he's on that journey.
There's the coffees on board now. Dan the man supplying the coffees.
Yeah, so if he does well, I mean, I would like to obviously he went and won gold. So then I look at it like, well, shows your potential. You could have maybe done the same thing, so. But yeah, no, happy for him as well. So it was actually weird because in the high performance when we were staying in the Balmoral, I think it was, me, him and a couple other guys on it was the like high performance thing before the competition, the way they had me up training and like assessing everybody and that. And we were actually all sitting in the same room after me, him and Theo. So and then we were laughing if we meet in the final, just joking about, and then we end up with it, like so. No, he's a good lad, like so. I was happy to see him win it because, I mean, he was going in front, so you want him to go and win. You know what I mean?
I guess it's now you obviously turning that sort of chapter from amateur boxing and obviously bringing probably what you had in amateur boxing across onto the professional ranks. What obviously was it that sort of has flicked that switch for you and went that, I guess a lot of people probably get to the stage where they go, I'm fed up, with the amateur boxing, maybe a style more suited to the pro ranks. What was it that got you to make that decision to sort of switch from amateur to pro?
It was something I always wanted to do, but I just wanted to get all the experience I could before doing so. You don't want to turn over too early or not have enough experience. So I kind of went like novice to a senior level pretty quickly, and then went elite shortly after. So I think my first elite competition would have been 2015. Yeah. I got beaten in the Ulster Elite Finals at 60, so I was boxed at, and Kerr goes back to front to my first fight when I was 17 or 16, I can't remember what age it was, but it must have been 17 because it wasn't youth, so it would have been 17, and I was 64 kilo. I fought that and then I went 60, and then 57, so my Kerr goes backwards. Everyone usually goes the other way.
I guess it shows that, boxing obviously helps you to maintain or obviously lose weight and stuff as well, and whenever you get down to 57, did you sort of feel at your strongest then, or was it sort of maybe a step too far?
No, because the Irish seniors, when I done them, it was actually a step further, which was a push, 56. I didn't enjoy that. 5 weeks in a row making 56 kilo when you're working, doing plumbing, it's not great.
Is that your normal job then?
I'm a plumber full time, yeah. So I'm still full time at the minute, but obviously, eventually I would like not to be. Obviously my main focus is obviously on boxing, but you have to make money, I suppose, and at the start everybody knows, it's a building process, isn't it? So at the start.
It's it's not a strange job in a way, but obviously being a plumber, obviously it's going to be hard, obviously, to maintain diets and camp and stuff like that as well. Are you sort of having to set time aside to be, like a week off before a fight so that you can sort of prepare food-wise and stuff like that?
Well, I'm lucky my dad does all my cooking and makes all the lunches, so I just go in and get the luxury of eating and drinking the smoothies. I don't do it. He preps it all for me, so which is good. Like, even done it when I was boxing amateur, but obviously now it's a bit more, you have to look at it a bit more. So yeah, he does all the cooking for me and stuff like so. Then you just put the wee fridge in the back of the van with the frozen bottles of water, keep the salad bowl cool.
And I guess in this well, the weather's so good, it's fighting them urges to obviously go and get a takeaway at lunchtime, or obviously go and get the things he probably shouldn't be having in camp. But obviously you're 2 weeks out now from your professional debut. I'm just going to say Wales, other than I think it's Abergavenny. Obviously if someone's Walsh here and they'll correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always wrong when it comes to names, but I guess you just can't wait to get this debut out of the way. We've been posting for weeks. That obviously so many weeks to go towards your fight. Then you're sort of going of 2 weeks to go. Is it the butterflies sort of kick in again now for you to sort of feel like nearly a nerves coming in. I guess the good thing you could be fighting away from home as well, so there's sort of not going to be a massive crowd sort of there cheering you on. You know that you're sort of in strange circumstances, but people in Wales can then take to you first before you make a home debut.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's 25 of us going over, plus me and Dan, so there's good enough crowd going. But when I get back home to Belfast, obviously it'll be, a whole different, like, ticket selling will be a lot, obviously, better than that. But it's just a bad time for everybody, isn't it? It's a lot more expensive than going just into the town. So, but yeah, it'll be good. And because having the amateur background and getting away in boxing places is it's not completely new. I know it's obviously a whole different game, but it's not completely new to like being out of your comfort zone. And then people there that you'll have people with you that whereas before you didn't. Well, you did, the coaches and the people at box, but I mean, like your family and friends, a couple of them will be there, so it'll be good to have people there while you're there.
I guess you maybe might not have thought of it yet, but I guess obviously as you start off, obviously in the pro game, it's probably not as intense as it was for you obviously in the amateurs. At the start you'll probably have a few journeymen to sort of get used to sort of the transition across from amateur to pros, where you're actually on the front foot and they're going backwards, so they're trying to defend, to try and avoid being stopped. I guess that's going to be something new to you. You're sort of going, why is this guy not on my face? Why is he not standing on my toes? Why is he not throwing back when I'm throwing? They're more there to try and survive. That'll be something to get used to in the brain, to go, it's me on the front foot. They're making me look amazing, but they're obviously there to help you to learn the trade of a transition over into the pro ranks.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a bit different than someone trying to take your head off, that's for sure. Well, I know they will be trying that, but yeah, different levels, I suppose, from transition from elite amateur, where they're all obviously very like high class technical boxers, to that. But sometimes that can throw you off too. Sometimes because if you're not used to it, then you can get like they can rush you and stuff. Because obviously when people are setting up shots and stuff, they're actually thinking about what they're doing. Where sometimes if they're all unorthodox and you're not used to that, it can throw people off. I've seen upsets happen loads of times where people are getting beat by people that they shouldn't be, but that people aren't expecting them to, just because they're not gelling well with the style. So I'm not taking it lightly anyway, because I mean everyone's in there for the same thing.
I guess it's making sure that you sort of don't make too many mistakes, because I guess particularly with transitioning across, and I know obviously you have Dan Anderson obviously here as your coach, but it's at the start you can make the mistakes, but it's trying to keep the mistakes as minimal as possible, where when the levels step up, there's not so much you have to correct, so you're sort of nearly trying to get to perfect your craft in your debut, and try not to get too much red mist. You sort of try and go looking for a stoppage, probably just trying to relax and enjoy yourself more than anything.
Yeah, well that's a good thing. I wouldn't really jump into, it's not something I'll be looking for. If it comes, it comes, but I wouldn't go looking for it. I'm just box just the same as anyone was in front of me, whether you think they can punch or not, just on the safe side. Like I wouldn't just go looking for a stoppage, because you can get caught. Anyone can get put to sleep. You just have to get hit once, like so.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, it's better to be cautious than obviously
especially smaller gloves now too. So
you're looking forward to that. Obviously, smaller gloves. I guess somebody's going to hit you harder. You're probably going to feel it more as well. So do you get that sort of buzz out of sort of somebody punching in the face to go, oh, that was a good one?
Yeah, wake you up a bit.
It's like wee things in your mind. It's sometimes you don't. We've seen fighters where they don't really wake up on a fight until they've been hit for the first time. Would you sort of be like that, where somebody hits you a punch and you go, right, I need to wake myself up here now, I've got that wee G up, I need it?
Sometimes when you come out of work, this bar, and you're half sleeping, you get caught one, you're not long waking up. You need to, or else you'll be sleeping again very shortly. So yes, sometimes, but not in the fight. You don't get, the idea is not to get punched, doesn't it?
It is. And obviously, talk to me obviously about the link up obviously with Dan Anderson here in Anderson Box, and obviously I know he's been really good friends with Michaela and Aidan for years, and he's obviously been about the pro scene, from Paddy Gall made his debut and everything else, and I know he's boxed a bit himself. How did the link up come with Dan? Is Dan someone you've known for quite a time? It was an easy sort of conversation to have in turning over?
Yeah, Dan boxed with me in Monkstown as well, so he was training alongside everybody that was there as well for he was there for quite some time. I think he actually fought in the Ulsters maybe when he was winning amongst time. But I've known him for a while, and then my brother trains in here with them too, just doing the S&C and the boxing and stuff, because he's gonna hopefully go back to the amateurs again. So he is. So have another dust up at it.
Is that obviously with you going into the pros then? Is that reinvigorating the urge with the brother then? He wants to stay involved?
Yeah, well he's boxed amateur. He fights at the senior level, like, so he's going to go back and have another go at the Catholic Cup and stuff here, I think. Well, that's what he's hoping to do.
I guess it's sometimes where you've decided to do something, he's going, well, I need to do something. It's that brotherly sort of competition.
It was him and my dad got me into it. They got me boxing, they got me to go. He started first, and then I think he started in Gaughran, ABC, Malaghy's gym there. And then he had his first fight in Gaughran, and I went and watched it, and then that was me hooked.
That was the buzz, had you?
That got me the buzz, yeah.
And obviously you're going to be managed, obviously, in Gaughran as well. Obviously over the last year, I've become very, very close with Ian nearly on a daily basis. We're sort of texting and things like that. But Ian Gaughran's obviously stable's grown tenfold over the last year. Was it an easy conversation, I guess? Did they link up with Ian? How did that come about? Was that through Dan that sort of made that connection?
I heard of and seen, obviously, of Ian, but it was when I started training with Dan, then when we were looking where to go, then we decided Ian was probably the best to go with at the time, so everything seems to be going well. Does he, man?
I think at times he's been threatened with divorce a few times. He hasn't been able to get to some shows with obviously everything else and stuff. But I guess when you have a manager that's got a growing stable of fighters, it bodes for you with confidence to know that he's always going to look out for the best for you. And I guess for you as well, you want to be staying active. So obviously he's going to be looking at opportunities. I see he's obviously got two of the other fighters in the card, a slot in Lanethley. Wales, I'll just call it Wales again. A couple of weeks later down the line, so it seems like he's building a connection there with Shadow Box. I think it's running the show, and Mo Pryor. So I guess them connections we can fight in Wales, but ultimately I guess he's got connections here in Belfast as well with Jamie Conor and Mark Dunlop. So I guess the idea is once you get the debut out of the way, it's then obviously having a fight at home is probably what you'll want then afterwards.
Yeah, that's the focus for the next one, but not looking too far ahead, just focus on this one, but that would be the ideal situation, to be in Belfast. But we'll get this one out of the way first before we think about the next one.
I definitely walk before you can run.
Yeah.
And what weight class is it? Featherweight? I think I've put down super featherweight.
It's featherweight, yeah.
It's featherweight. Will you start off at super feather and work down, or is it featherweight to potentially come down again?
I'm just starting at featherweight because that's where I box at amateur, so I'll go. That's just for now as far as I can make it down. 57's good for me, so. But obviously, if I can give up the job and start training twice a day, I never know, I could maybe come down another notch when I get up the ranks a bit, who knows.
And I guess obviously, do you sort of look at the domestic sort of scene? Obviously, I guess in the smaller weight classes, you're not going to have as many fighters there. Do you sort of look now at someone with a target on their back? Not that you want to call them out or anything like that, but do you start to look at other fighters and go, and a years down the line, I'm going to be fighting you for a Celtic belt or an Irish belt? Do you sort of start to look ahead towards that, or you just focus on here and now and work up?
Just focusing here on now. Everyone's on their own path, aren't they? Everybody wants titles, but I only got back 3 months ago after I got injured in the Commonwealth qualifiers when I fought Jude, so I was out for well over a year. I had to get my shoulder fixed. Don't even know what they done, but they keyholed it and stuff like that. So, but I was out for well over a year and came back at 68 kilo or something. So 3 months at 69 it was, so for over a year out, just hit bad habits, eating nonsense.
So you've lost what, about 12 kilo in about 3 months?
Yeah. So that back feeling good again. Feels good.
I was just about to say that obviously losing that amount of weight, you're obviously going to feel very, very good as well. Obviously, I guess this buzz of going pro as well is probably going to do that to you. You're going to go 110% everything you do because you only make a professional debut once.
Yeah, that's it. And like the weight, I carry the weight. You don't, like I could say, you wouldn't really notice on me, but I do carry it. But I get it off easy enough too. If I'm eating healthy, I'll not go up or down. If I'm training away. But it's just because I was off for so long and just eating the biggest nonsense of the day. I was training for a while at the start, and then I was getting sore. then I was off, back, off, and then I got asked to go to Barcelona, the multi-nations tournament. So I tried to come back again. Was training Monkstown and done like 4 weeks maybe, and it just went again. So then I had to get the private MRIs and had to do the one with put the injection in and stuff, and I get the ankle around it to see what was going on. So, but thankfully we're all good now. Back 3 months of punching and a lot lighter, and we're good to go.
Fantastic. And obviously for people it's going to be buying tickets, and obviously that may not support you and things like that. Well, not that they may not support you, but they get to see you and things in action. What sort of style would you say you have that you're going to bring to the pro game?
Well, I come forward a lot, but it would be more like pressure. I don't know what you would call pressure, counter punching maybe. Like I would like to put pressure on, but I can box too. So, but everybody loves a good dust up, especially me. I do come forward a lot, but obviously when you were moving up in the amateurs, you had to learn. When I first started, that would have been me. It would have been full steam ahead.
I'm guessing Dan will have the stabilisers on you for a bit as well. Obviously, be telling you to sort of hold back and sort of get used to the environment of the professional game before you start going chasing people around the ring.
Yeah, that's it. And you have to be able, when you turn professional, you have to be able to do your kind of bit of everything, don't you? Because when you can come up against anybody, you have to be able to box, and you can't go forward all the time either. But it's good to have it in the locker, because if you need to have a dust up, you can have it. But yeah, so a wee bit of everything's the best way, I think. So just work on everything and try and get as close to perfecting it as you can, I think. And then obviously as you progress in the pro game, getting used to doing more rounds, and then obviously start up in the opposition,
And I know you sparred Anto Kakachi, was it, before obviously his fight there in the SSE. How did you obviously find sparring Anto? Obviously he's the ABO champion at super featherweight. I guess it's probably maybe sometimes the wrong person. Obviously Anto's been regarded as probably one of the hardest punchers in Ireland. How did you sort of find sparring obviously Anto? Was it just sort of...
Yeah, it's good. Like he's, I mean obviously he's at the top now, isn't he? So hopefully he gets another belt soon when he gets back to it, which I think he will do. And yeah, he definitely hits like a train. But I've sparred him before that when I was fighting in the elites, boxing in the elites. He came up to Monkstown a few times, so I knew he could hit like a train anyway. Yeah.
I was trying to obviously see where you can find somebody to hide in the ring from him. Once he gets going. Especially
when you're not at 100%, need fitness, and there, a big boy like that coming at you. It's good. It's good though. Good is like it's good. Obviously training for me, you learn things off it too.
And obviously, what do you make of the general scape of professional boxing in Ireland? Obviously, we've obviously unfortunately had a bad couple of weeks. Obviously, Michael Conor and Katie Taylor losing, but you probably are coming into Irish boxing at a time where it's probably never been as active. I think tonight's our seventh or eighth show of the year, and we're not even at the end of June, and there's other fights in the pipeline. You probably couldn't have picked a better time to turn pro, because you'll be able to get fights as regular as you want them. Yeah,
there seems to be quite a lot of shows as well, which is good, whether it be small hall or major, like the Odyssey and stuff like that. But obviously not sure what way they're going to go, but there seems to be a lot of activity going on, and there's plenty of people turning pro. There's plenty of good ones from here too. It's not long turned over, prospects are, they've had quite a few fights, but yeah, it seems to be pretty buzzing, which is good, because obviously the more there is, then the more opportunity there's going to be.
Do you sort of now start to dream and sort of think of what venues you want to fight in? I guess obviously with one not so far away here in the SSE Arena, is that sort of one you started to picture, being on a card there? Obviously a fellow Monkstown boxer that I failed to mention there, obviously Stephen Ward, who's obviously been out of the ring for a bit of time, obviously with cuts and things like that. But do you sort of look to somebody like Stephen Ward, and coming from Monkstown Boxing Club, do you know where you can get to in the sort of pro ranks?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everybody's dream from here, isn't it, to box, whether it be on the undercard or the top dog. But I would love to be on an undercard in there. Yeah, it would be great. And the Ulster Hall's a good venue too, which I boxed in there in the Ulster Elite final before, which is a good venue. Stephen Ward, he fought, was it Conway in the Ulster Hall?
Conroy.
Conroy, that's it.
That was a war.
It was.
I was cleaning claret off my laptop for 4 weeks afterwards.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's good, because he was always around the gym. He's still there now as well, but he was always around, like, when they weren't fully in camp. You know, like people that have been back, and sometimes Frampton would have been there too. And then there was a time they were all there. Jack Catterall, Stephen Ward, and Frampton and all were there training. So yeah, Monkstown's it's a good boxing club. You get like levels and varies very much, you know. From young boxers to obviously then people senior elite, and Aidan and Michaela, the Olympians. They're not there now, but when they were, and then obviously pros, Stephen Ward, and then the likes of Frampton and stuff walking through the door, and Catterall, and obviously they're trainers, you know, so you usually see them on the TV, not standing in front of you, so yeah.
Aye, hard done to get starstruck. Well, look, obviously, well, thank you for your time. I didn't think we'd get 30 minutes of obviously talk out of you, you know, ahead of obviously your debut. I guess that probably shows the person you are. You're obviously confident and you're obviously happy to talk and everything else. We'll obviously wish you all the very best for obviously your debut in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully we will find a streaming some way, or maybe we can get Dan with one of them head cameras on.
It's on Fight TV.
It's on Fight TV, even better than I was going to say. We get Dan with one of them head, you know, them VR things in his head, and he could sort of live stream it for us. But obviously we wish you all the very best for your pro debut in 2 weeks' time, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you very soon.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Conor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.